want to talk to you a little bit about taking your bass playing to the next level, going from picking out roots, fifths, flat sevenths, octaves, the bread and butter, the basics of what we do as bass players, to really developing bass lines, being able to tell a story, being able to interact with all of those other musicians on stage or in the studio around you, and really tell a story with the way you play the bass. The foundation for what we're going to look at today is going to be based around the pentatonic scale. We're working on example 1 from page 42 from my book, Bass Player's Guide to Pentatonics. If you want to dig deeper into any of the stuff we're looking at in today's video, signed copies are available below the video in the description. You can also get physical copies from Amazon, digital copies at my website. They all come with play-alongs and videos, and we're going to dive into one of those play-alongs to look at this first exercise. We're going to take this idea of 4 16th notes as our opening statement, and we're going to add to it slightly every time the phrase comes around. We'll play a 2-bar phrase twice, and every time we change to the next 2-bar phrase, I'll add something else to the line. It's really about being able to maintain that fundamental and to be able to add things to the line without taking away from the musical situation. This example has 6 2-bar phrases. I'll play them all for you, and then we'll get stuck into exactly what's going on. I'll explain it a little bit further. So that's the entire exercise. It's something you can get through in about 60 seconds. If you think about how much value you could get out of an idea like this, just playing this for 10 minutes a day, really dialing in your bass playing, playing with a backing track, creating something that's as realistic as possible in terms of a band situation, and really being disciplined to stick with that initial idea. Just those 4 notes, those 4 16th notes at the top of each phrase. Now, I'm sure you heard that I was adding embellishments. That's how the phrase is developing. We're adding a little bit each time the 2-bar phrase comes around. The second iteration of it, that was it. We added 2 more notes. We added a D flat and a D flat up the octave, 2, 3, and... Now, personally, I like to stick on each of those ideas way longer than twice. The way the play-along is set up, you go through them all in sequence, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. But there's no reason why you can't use the play-along to work on each of those things way more than just twice each. And if there's anything at all about these phrases that isn't immediately recognizable, or it's not something you're getting under your fingers right away, please do exactly that. Please stay on part 2, for instance. Until it feels really, really good, until you get onto the next part. And building up this phrase is really, as you can see, I'm adding very small things through these first 3 lines. The very first one is completely clean, just that in both bars. Then what we've just been playing, Now, the only thing I add in the third iteration are 2 more A flats in the very end of the phrase. They're like a pickup to the top of the phrase. So this exercise is doing a couple of different things. It's teaching you how to add things that don't stick out, that don't get in the way of the music around you. It's also helping you realize where to place certain things. Certain elements of these phrases are fills. They're maybe not something I would play every single time the phrase comes around, but as an exercise, as a discipline, they're in there, they're repetitive, they're designed to help get those lines under your fingers. But if we go to maybe the 4th line, for instance, where the phrase is 3, 4. I maybe wouldn't play that. I wouldn't play that every single time. Maybe that's at the end of 4 bars. Maybe that's at the end of 8 bars, maybe the end of 16. That's more of a fill that helps take you back to the top of a form or to the beginning of a new section of the music. And because to me, form is one of those hugely important things when it comes to music, when it comes to marking the form, when it comes to playing that supportive role, being part of the collective that is the rhythm section, the bass, the drums, the keyboards, the guitar, having great control of where to play a fill, how to play a fill, how not to overplay fills in general is a massive key when it comes to being a great bass player. And as we go through to the end of the example, our 6th phrase here, that's pretty busy. I stole that line from Michel Ndegeocello. I think you can go find that on Cookie, the Anthropological Mixtape. I believe it's on that record, but that's definitely a Michel Ndegeocello-ism. Maybe not the rest of the line, but definitely that little phrase in the first bar. I'm such a huge fan of taking things from my heroes, especially someone like Michel Ndegeocello, from Bootsy Collins, from James Jamerson, and putting those little ideas, even if it's not an entire bar of that person's playing, it's a little phrase, putting that in the context of an exercise like this, getting repetition of that vocabulary into my playing. It's so hugely important. I try and work on just a very few things at any given time. So maybe if that lick was new to me, maybe I would take this play along, doesn't matter where it is. And I'm experimenting there. I'm moving the time around a little bit. You can see that it didn't take that long. In less than 60 seconds, I've played that idea a dozen or more times. Think about 10 minutes. Think about an hour. Think about the consistency of playing for 10, 15, or 20 minutes a day, just that line for 7, 8, 9, 10 days. After 10 days of doing that for 10 minutes a day, a lot of 10s here, it's going to be in your playing forever. It's not that you're going to remember it. It's that you're never going to be able to forget it. It will be such a natural part of your playing. And that is what makes great musicians of any instrument. But here we are talking about the bass. That is what can take you from being a bass player or even a good bass player to a really great bass player. And more importantly, to a natural bass player. You can see I'm smiling as I tell you this because it is an incredible amount of fun to be able to step on the stage and have that complete freedom, knowing that all of that vocabulary that you've been practicing so consistently in a context like this, repetitively, is going to come out of you in a musical way and just completely freely. You won't have to think about it. It'll be a natural extension of your playing. And all this time, you'll be doing one of the most important things, maybe one of the most unique things in music, and that's developing your own voice. Whether you plan to be a professional musician, whether you just play on the weekends, if you practice these kind of things this consistently, with this much repetition, and with the right intent, focusing on time and sound over everything, you are going to develop a unique voice, whether you need it or not for your profession, or whether it's just a hobby. I think it's an amazing thing. I encourage you to dig deep into all of this stuff. Listen to your most favorite music, the most inspiring music around you. Copy the hell out of that. Put that in the context of what we've been talking about here today. Again, if you want to dig into more exercises, there are dozens more like this laid out in the book. Standard notation, bass tab, videos, play-alongs, signed copies like this. Available below, linked in the description. Also physical copies, unsigned unfortunately, from Amazon, shipping worldwide, and digital copies if you want this thing right now, available at my website. Really appreciate you spending some of your insanely precious time with me, talking about music, learning about the bass, and I'll see you all on the next one.